What's happening, everybody? It's Ryan. Thank you for checking in. For those of you that aren't from the Maryland area that subscribe to this channel or watching this vlog, it is bone-chilling cold right now. This morning leaving the house, it was like, why can't I do this? Everybody's always kind of interrupting. The thing that's weird about doing a vlog is people see you talking to a camera. You're being animated, you're talking to a camera, and then when they see you talking to a camera, they looking like, what is this wacko doing? So let's start this over.
Music by Chris Hayes.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan. Thank you for checking in. So when I left the house this morning, it was this freezing cold, eerie day where it's gray and you can tell something's coming. The weather report said late this afternoon it was going to start snowing, and here we are, it is snowing. So I've had several meetings today in Baltimore, just finished my last one up, and I'm going to get on the road, want to start making my way towards home, but before I get home, I have to go by the butcher shop. So the next 30 to 40 hours are going to be absolutely bananas. And for those of you that have subscribed to this channel or are checking in to see the smoking aspect of the channel, you're going to want to stay tuned. Tomorrow we have a Christmas dinner, and I was asked to bring a brisket, so I'm going to be smoking one entire Packer brisket, point, flat, connected, wrapped in paper, salt and pepper, that whole deal. I'm going to do one of those starting at 3 a.m. tonight or tomorrow morning, whichever you prefer. And then I'm also going to be doing a flat only, a little bit different. I'm going to wrap the flat in tin foil, put vegetables on the bottom with some wine, and I'm going to do more of a holiday feel with that. It's the first time I've done that. I've done several kind of traditional briskets. So if you have ended up on this page for the smoking aspect, you're going to want to stay tuned. It's going to be a little bit bananas, but it's going to be fun. So I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like a butcher shop. Butcher shop doesn't have these Christmas theme lights in it. So my goal leaving the hospital was to get some B-roll and some great footage of my trip from the hospital to the butcher shop. It was snowing, it was gorgeous. At the same time, it was snowing, the roads weren't great, so the last thing I wanted to do was pull out my camera while I'm driving. And then when I got to the butcher shop, it was just wall-to-wall people, everybody there getting last-minute things. So I punted on taking the camera in and getting footage of all that. And this is the first time I've had to sit down and kind of talk through what my plan is with this brisket. Now, normally with a brisket, I would walk you through step by step what I'm doing when I'm trimming it, when I'm putting it on. The tricky part here is I ended up getting a 17-pound brisket. Now, a brisket like that takes roughly about an hour per pound. So 17 pounds, you'd think 17 hours. But by the time I trim it down, it'll probably be more around 15 pounds. So to work backwards, dinner's at 7. I want this thing to rest in a Cambro for about 2 hours, which means I need to pull it off at 5. So knowing that, knowing it's going to be about 15 pounds, I need to put this thing on about 1 a.m. And the last thing I'm going to do is turn this camera on at 1 a.m. and start having a conversation with a lens, because I will have my wife downstairs. Lindsay will not be happy that it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm vlogging. So I'm going to walk you through what I'm going to do, and then when I go to do it at 1 a.m., I'm just going to speed up that video so you can see what's going on. So typically with a brisket, I follow the Franklin method, strictly salt and pepper, and it's worked out great. I'm going to do the same thing this time with a little twist. So I'm going to stick to that salt and pepper, but I'm going to use this Killer Hogs barbecue rub, and it's the AP rub, all-purpose rub. What I like about this rub is it's primarily salt and pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of my own pepper because it's a little light on the pepper, but it's primarily salt and pepper with a little bit of garlic and a little bit of parsley. So that's going to be my base. when I trim this down, I'm gonna trim all the fat off the point. There's so many bands of fat running through the point of a brisket that to take all the fat cap off of that portion, I feel you're still gonna get that piece of meat marinated from the fat that's running through it. Then as you get to the point side, the leaner part of the meat, I'm still gonna shave that down about to 1/4 of an inch of fat. And I'm gonna smoke it, fat cap up, throw the seasoning on there, and throw it on at 1 o'clock. I probably won't touch this again until 6 or 7. I might get up at like 3 or 4 to make sure I still have pellets in the hopper because it's 20 degrees out right now. But other than that, I'm not gonna mess with it. And then at some point I'm gonna wrap it in butcher's paper, but I'll be able to talk to you about that when we get there. So that's my plan. And then I'm gonna start the holiday brisket in the morning. Again, something I'll talk to you in a little bit. So now I'm just waiting. 9 o'clock, kids are in bed, wife's in bed, my mother-in-law's over, she's in bed. So now it's just sit and wait. And at midnight, I'm gonna start trimming this up. And the great thing about trimming it at midnight is it's gonna come up to room temperature as I'm trimming it, and at 1 o'clock it'll be ready to go and I can throw it on the smoker. I'm gonna smoke it at 250 and let it ride until morning. So wish me luck. See ya. So I really didn't talk about the second brisket that I was making in terms of how I'm prepping that. And you probably saw I did that a little bit differently. So for the flat only brisket, it was about 7 pounds. I trimmed it up. What I'm gonna do with that is I injected it with a vegetable stock and a prime dust mixture. And I did that in a grid pattern. And then I used the Cattleman's Tri-Tip seasoning, which is really savory and kind of, I feel like it's a little bit more holiday-y or wintry. So I put that seasoning on there, and then I'm gonna put that over a bed of vegetables. So vegetables, is a potato a vegetable? I guess so. Putting it over potatoes, carrots, onions, and garlic. And then I'm gonna take a little bit more of that prime dust vegetable stock mixture, mix that with red wine to make kind of a jus type sauce, and I'm gonna put that in tin foil, put the brisket on top of it, and seal that and finish it in tin foil. The brisket will kind of marinate and all the juices will mix with those vegetables. I don't typically, and I never have cooked a brisket in tin foil, but we're gonna try something different with that flat only. The 17 pound, 15 after trimmed is gonna be in butcher paper. I really like the way butcher paper kind of keeps the bark intact. It stops the coloring of the brisket and I think speeds up the cooking process, but it doesn't ruin the bark. I feel like when you put it in foil, the steam from being in foil starts to break down that bark, whereas the paper doesn't do that. So that's where we're at. Let's take a look at it and then we'll go from there. So I'm not gonna open this for too long. The more you have this hood open, the more you lose in terms of the heat that's in there, and it has to get ramped back up. So we're at 250 temperature wise on the smoker, but I've got an ambient probe over by the smokestack. The smokestack's up around 300, so it's a little bit hotter than I want, but you can see the color of this brisket is just phenomenal. It looks great. It's really done in terms of coloring, so I am gonna wrap that soon. This flat has a little while to go color wise. Probably give it another hour and then I'm going to wrap that up. In terms of pellets, I'm using oak. I really like the way the oak works with a brisket. It gives a really good smoky flavor to it. With my butts, I'm typically doing something like a pecan and cherry, sometimes hickory. But for these briskets, I'm mainly doing oak. I've had good success with that, and I'm always hesitant to try something different. Once these are done, about the 5-hour mark, I borrowed a Cambro from a friend of mine. I'm gonna throw the briskets in there. That'll keep this thing warm and at temperature for hours. So I'm gonna let them rest in there, but we'll get there shortly. See you soon. So today is the exact reason I love my Yoder and I love the Fireboard meat thermometers. I'll put a link to my Yoder video here, but it's set at 250. The hopper's full. I know for 8 hours it's gonna sit at 250 and I don't have to worry about it. Then with the Fireboard, again, I'll put a link here to that as well. The Fireboard's connected via Wi-Fi, so I have 3 meat thermometers in, 2 pieces of meat. I have an ambient grill temperature probe in the grill that's monitoring the temperature by the smokestack, and I'm getting updates on my phone. If anything weird happens with the temperature, I get a text and it tells me what's going on. I can log in from my phone, see what the temperature is at. I can leave the house for an hour and a half to go to this dance recital, and I don't have to worry about what's going on with my meat. It's great. I mean, this is a 15-hour brisket I'm smoking, and I'm not stuck at the house. So if you want the flexibility to do a long smoke like this that takes a lot of time, but you don't want to manage a fire, you want to know what temperature your meat's at, you've got to check out these 2 products. They're just awesome. Time to wrap the brisket. This is going to be the difficult part. I want to leave these probes in so I can keep an eye on what's going on, but this is going to be tricky. I don't know if using tape is overly professional, but we're going to use what we got. Now we got my probes here, so I mark these. The one with the tape is the flat section, the one without is the point. I think we're looking good, although my tape doesn't want to stay, but I'm going to make the best with what I got. It's on. We're good to go. Gonna start monitoring the temperature. It's now 1 o'clock exactly. 2 o'clock, I'm gonna wrap the other one. Alright, I'm gonna apologize ahead of time. The light is not very good. I forgot to grab this. So this is the second brisket. And all I've done is I put it in tin foil. I hate that I have to unwrap it, but I put it on tin foil. I have vegetables under here, carrots, garlic, thyme, bay leaf, rosemary, and then I took that red wine and now I'm wrapping it up. So this is the second brisket getting wrapped. And the key for this is to get it as tight as you can. So I'm double wrapping it so I can get it really tight, because you don't want any gaps in the tin foil where you might lose some of the juices and everything else. So I actually might put this on top. So that's it. Now this is going on. We're about 20 minutes from pulling the meat off the grill. And the next time you see this, it won't be until I'm cutting into it. So I want to show you what everything looks like, and then I'll show you the finished product.
Show them your meat.
She's terrible. Sorry, I had to change the weight balance. So here we have the big boy wrapped up, ready to go. Ooh, that's dripping. Thing's juicy. And then this is the one that's wrapped with the vegetables underneath. The flat only is about at 200. I'm gonna pull it off at 205. And we're at 190 on the other two. So we're right there. I'm gonna pull them off and then I'm gonna put them in the Cambo, keep them warm, let them rest for about 2 hours. See you soon. "24 hours from where we began, and I'm exhausted. I don't know if you can tell from seeing this, I'm just beat. But before I finish this vlog, all the edits, I wanted to add a couple notes to what I started. So first things first, I try to get these to 8 minutes, but this was a 15-hour smoke that I crammed into 20 minutes. So there was a lot to cover. It's a lot longer than I wanted it to be. Hopefully, if you're seeing this, you'll give me a thumbs up for sticking through it with me. But All Things Barbecue gets all the credit for the holiday brisket. That recipe is straight from All Things Barbecue, Chef Tom. They're phenomenal. I've talked about them before. So if you haven't seen their page, I'm going to link the holiday brisket here. Check it out. You're getting a novice that's trying to replicate what experts are doing. So all things considered, it turned out really well. I had about half of the people at the Christmas dinner saying they love the straight barbecue brisket. Then I had a bunch of people saying they love the holiday brisket. The holiday brisket was really different. Some things I would change about what I did today. First things first is the 17-pound brisket. I questioned putting it on at midnight, went to 1. At one point I was at 3 a.m. I needed more time, and that's a constant with me with smoking is I always need a little bit more time. So I should always err on the side of starting it early and let it rest longer versus feeling rushed. With the holiday brisket, a little bit of the same. I pulled it off and opened it, and when I opened it, it still felt really firm. So put in a quick thermometer, saw it was about 185 while the fireboard was reading about 200. So I put it back on. It turned out great, but again, I should start these things early. That way I can pull them off, let them rest, versus feeling rushed for time. So it turned out well, but I am beat. I gotta go to bed. See ya.